Shambho, Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. Om. 49th sloka. What date we have finished it? 49th shloka. ततो मनोजवित्वं विकरणभावः प्रधानजयश्च. मनोजवित्वं and vikarana. From the, it's a continuation of the previous shloka where we have explained about in detail about the Indriya jaya. This is a continuation. Tato. From that proceeds, from that what we have explained about the Indriya jaya, proceeds immediate ability to have knowledge without the use of senses and complete mastery over the prakriti. Tato manojavitvam vikarana bhavaha pradhana jayascha. What is the pradhana jayam? Even though we said about the details of indriyas, function of indriyas, how it should function, why it is functioning like this, all permutation combinations have been discussed. Then what is the pradhana jaya? That from the proceeds. So why do we have to have the Indriya jaya or Indriya nigraha? Is for the purpose of having the knowledge without the assistance of the Indriyas is the reason why we have to have Indriya jaya. So with this Indriya jaya, Indriya being the external, having the mind and the Indriyas functioning together as we described earlier, for each and every information and for each and every knowledge, the mind and the intellect looks up to the Indriya to provide them the sufficient information from where they can derive the knowledge out of it to utilize the knowledge for the purpose of executing and exhausting the karmas. What is the purpose of knowledge? Why should one have knowledge? Why should we know about things? We keep on anchoring about knowing about that, knowing about this, knowing about what, knowing about not. Why? Meant for using that knowledge for the purpose of execution and exhaustion of karmas. So that utilizing this knowledge or this experience, knowledge is knowledge from the experience or from information, from the tattvas, from the principles, from the satsanga, from Upanishads, from Vedas, from self-experience, from number of janmas, from karma yoga, from dhyana yoga, from bhakti marga, from vanaprastha, from sannyas yoga. In all these stages, one is keep on acquiring knowledge. Only for the purpose of utilizing the knowledge in the right manner. That means dharmically for executing and exhausting the karmas so that he can get liberation. The Jnanam is meant for that. The Jnanam is meant for liberation in the sense, liberation from the Ajnanam, liberation from the efforts of toiling for the purpose of acquiring that Jnanam. Is why one should have the Jnanam. No. liberation. From the liberation he gets released from all entanglements and be with his true nature. Now we call it as Brahman in Upanishads and Vedas. To be with his true nature or to be with his Brahman is the purpose of knowing, having knowledge. That's why Jnanam Brahma. Jnanam is Brahman. So, what is Brahman? Jnanam Brahma. Having known everything is Brahma Sakshatkari. Everything in the sense. Having known the Brahma Jnanam is Brahma Sakshatkari. Having acquired the Jnanam and not utilizing them, not necessary for utilizing that Jnanam anywhere, he has become the Brahman. The one who has to utilize the Brahman, it is meant for the utility of liberation. But the one who need not use that Brahma Jnanam is a Brahman himself, because there is no necessity of utilizing the Jnanam. The Jnanam and the Brahman disintegrates into one. So Prajnanam Brahma, they said. Jnanam is ultimate Jnanam is the Brahman. That's a Brahman. That's why the Brahman is Sarvam Brahmamaya. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman. It's because it is all over. Jnanam is all over. So it is the purpose of that. So, Tato Manojavitvam Vikarana Bhava Pradhana Jayascha. Pradhana Jayam from the Indriya nigraha is that, as I told already, it's a repetition I think, not wanting to take the assistance of the Indriyas, having the knowledge without the assistance of them. So without the Indriyas, you should. That's why in the status of tapasya, somewhere in Upanishads they have told that no, yogi should be like a tortoise. Whenever it is necessary, he should be able to withdraw his organs inside. He should be able to withdraw everything into him. All the Indriyas. So, only when it is necessary, it can project it out. This liberty is provided to everyone. This liberty is there with everyone. But what happens? Since the human and other species would like to acquire knowledges through the Indriyas, they keep the Indriyas projected out in order to acquire the objective external knowledge through the Indriyas and analyze by the mind and utilize it by intellect for the purpose of liberation, for the purpose of execution of karmas, which may not be right or which is not right. Because any karmas execution, as I told you some time back, the execution of karmas are not from the experiences that is necessary to be done. We have experience because we had previous janmas, we had previous karmas, we had execution of number of karmas, so we have acquired the experience. These experiences are meant for discriminating and identifying what is necessary and what is not necessary. These experiences are directly available in your memory system. These experiences are not to be used directly for the purpose of execution of karmas, because they are only the results of the experiences that you have already acquired at one point of time or other, which could not help you to liberate. So in order to liberate, you have to have a discrimination, or you have to have a contemplation on that. And then they are meant for identifying the necessities and the eliminations. The process of discrimination has to be identified through Jnanam through Vidya, through Shastras, through Upanishads, through Ashirvadam, through Satsanga, through many other processes that has been prescribed. So one should be in a position to constantly be alert in order to acquire them. One has to be alert at always. Jagrata. Uttishtado Jagrata. Always that Uttishtado Jagrata. Always be on toes, he says. To be alert. To be alert for what? To be alert in the sense, to be alert in this, to be alert, to be always be with the Jnanam. Any small thing can deviate you from the path of the acquisition of Jnanam, and that can delay your process or can derail your process. Whatever it is, whichever way you derive it at it. So it's not only for a moment. Constantly be in Jagrata. Constantly be in the consciousness. Constantly be in the Satsanga. Constantly be in whichever word you can use, number of paryayas are there. Be in that Brahman. Because through that Jnanam, through that acquisition of Jnanam, even though other things might be there along with that, but through that acquiring of the Jnanam is that what you have to utilize for execution of karmas, where it can only exhaust the karmic phala. That's called the dharmic way of jivan. Dharmic way of living. Dharma is established there. Many things which can be used by the Indriyas, which can be analyzed by the Indriyas, studied by the Indriyas, experienced by the Indriyas, may appear to be Dharma, but may not be Dharma. Unless one goes into that path of Dharma, the discrimination process is very difficult. How to discriminate if one doesn't know what is the result to be achieved? What's the meaning of discrimination? Why should one discriminate if one doesn't know what is to be achieved? There are few things. Discriminate from them. What for? To acquire that knowledge. So pradhana, jaya, from the Indriya nigraha is the consciousness, the awareness and the consciousness of the Jnanam being established in the mana, intellect, as well as the antaratma, without the assistance of external experiences, without the experiences acquired through the Indriyas and the mana. That is why they have identified a method called Dhyanam or Tapasya, through which the Indriya nigraha could be achieved, totally could be achieved, and that's why the inward application, one is that an external application of acquiring the knowledge, another is an inward application of acquiring the knowledge. The inward application of acquiring the knowledge can be obtained only when the external utility of the Indriyas are totally barred, stopped, eliminated. Then the internal organs, that means internal organ means the internal consciousness, including the prana, the atma, and they be alert. From them, the inner self, from that inner knowledge, from that sukshma sharira, the knowledge which is being evoked, that knowledge which is prevalent all over, is evoked and acquired, will be utilized for the purpose of executing the kartavya and karma and get liberated. Once you utilize that purpose, once you utilize that jnanam in order to execute the karmas, automatically the exhaustion of karmas take place. Because in that jnanam, in that Brahma jnanam, there are no expectations, there are no illusions, there is no hallucinations, there are no inhibitions on that. They are absolutely perfect. So that knowledge, which is perfect, which is absolute, which is only absolute, which is truth, which is existence, which is existing, is the one which has to be utilized for the purpose of execution of karmas and for the purpose of liberation. Is why that status has to be acquired, so that there the question of selfishness or inhibition of selfishness is not arising at all. Because Jnanam is prevailed. When you are in the Jnanam, you are available for everything and everywhere. So Vikarana Bhavaha Pradhane. That Vikarana Bhava, that absolutely being away from that utility. Without use of the senses. The senses what we are using, it is not, they are all false, they are all manifested. What is this Indriyas are looking at? From where it is trying to learn experiences? From those which are temporary already, which is known as a myth, which is not existing. Adi Shankara said, Jagat mithya. That which is mithya, the Indriyas are looking at it and trying to learn from that. That which is not the truth, you are looking at it and trying to learn the truth. Looking at the untruth, how can you learn the untruth? So you have to discriminate from that. That is why Vikarana Bhava. So what happens? The senses, the sensory system, as I told you last class, we have already explained what is the use of sensory system. We have already explained. For the purpose of materialistic way of living or spiritual way of living. How it has to be utilized, what are the definitions of the Indriyas having, I think we have in detail discussed about it. So those senses should be merged with the inner senses of it. So the prakriyas or the pravritti or the activities of the Indriyas have to be merged with the inherent nature of that Sukshma Bhava of the Shabda Sparshara Sarupa Gandha. Not the effect of them, not variance of them, the reality of the Shabda. When you go into the reality of the Shabda, then you will be in a position to identify each and every Shabda that is happening in the universe. I told you some time back that Maharishi Vasishtha could understand the language of a worm, could understand a small insect, it's making a noise. So, when one has a control over the Prakriti, when he has control over the Panchabhutas, when one has got the control on the senses, all the sensory systems, the inner senses, Shabda Sparshara Sarupa Gandha, mastery over the Shabda. When he has mastery over the Shabdam, all the sounds that is being existing in the existence can be identified by him. Not necessarily he has to learn the languages as we do language learning. No, nothing is necessary. This is how a great Maharishi through tapasya, he understands anything and everything. The language of the existence, the language of the Prakriti, the Shabda of the Prakriti. Yes. This is how one is understanding that. So this capability, what is that? This comes from where? From the inner Jnanam. Not necessary. You don't have to have an ear to listen to that. It is not necessary. An insect making a noise cannot be even sometimes heard, cannot be heard by our normal ears. Can you hear? There are so many sounds happening around. Are we able to capture all of them? No, it is not possible. The one who has got the mastery over the Prakriti, over the Panchabhutas, over the Indriyas, he will be in a position to identify and understand anything and everything. It's the same way as seeing or listening or tasting or sparsha. For everything, the same classification goes. Without touching anything, he can feel that. He can sit here and say that what is the sensory system of particular thing. Without touching it, he can explain it to you. Because he can feel it, he can experience it inside that, through that knowledge. This is called the Jnanam. The absolute Jnanam, without you using any of your external Indriyas. That means neither the body or the mana. It's not necessary for them. That's why many rishis have lived for thousands of years, they say. 500 years, 600 years, 1000 years, few thousand years. Somebody burned their bodies. In Puranas there are so many stories we cite that the Maharshis burned their body. That too gradually. In the rice husk they accumulate and then set fire so that it doesn't burn slowly, and he sits inside because he is not connected with the Sharira at all. The Dichi Maharshi, he said that when I am in the deep meditation, you take my bone, spine, and make the weapon which Indra wanted to do it in order to kill a demon. How could one do it? Today's people will surgically taking out with anesthesia. No, that is not necessary. When he is in the tapasya, when he is in the control of the Indriyas, he doesn't have an external Indriyas. The Jnanam is prevalent in him. When he has the Jnanam is the one which is prevalent in him, the importance of the Sharira is no more there because he knows what it is. It is meant for destruction, that's all. Today or tomorrow it is meant for destruction. So he voluntarily destroys it. He voluntarily accepts the destruction for a purpose of a benefit of something else, is what the Dichi Maharishi, great tapasvi, great jnani, has done. What is that? How is it possible? Today for the normal man, it's a wonder, or it is impossible for him because he cannot even imagine that. Forget about understanding it. Even as a story he cannot imagine, it's not possible. But it is actual, it is real, it is truth, and it is possible. Through the Jnanam prevalent in him, he will be in a position to detach himself. What is detachment? Attachment with something without inhibitions and selfishness is called detachment, I said. This is exactly what has happened. He is attached with the Prakriti, attached with the Brahman, attached with the Purusha, naturally, automatically. When he is attached with that, the detachment of all other things takes place. This Jnanam. By word, by Vakyartha or Vakyartha, it is not possible to understand. It is only a sort of guidance that can be provided to the mind to just know that, that's all. But experiencing that, it is not possible. The true Jnanam is in experiencing. This is possible by practice, this is possible by even practice is not necessary. Just by being in it, one experiences it. These things are not come by practice. There are people who are meditating for thousands of years. There are disciples who have meditated for thousands of years for many great saints. Even take Adi Shankara's case, his own disciples. How many of them had been meditating? Tapasya, that too, their tapasya, you can understand an Acharya like Adi Shankaracharya, the God himself. Under him, people learning that tapasya, only who could do it? Only one person could do it. Others could, yes, have been provided with the knowledge and jnana, but the interpretation and then true experiencing of the jnana, Todakacharya, without learning anything, he started chanting mantras and great principles of Brahma Tattvam, Brahmajnana, Todakashtakam. Shankara was a basic education of learning the alphabets and Vakya was necessary for him. No. How was it possible? The others who are using Indriyas, writing, learning, by hearting, chanting every day, practicing every day. This man never practiced. One fine morning he has got the knowledge. That is knowledge. Knowledge doesn't come with practice. You cannot practice and gain the knowledge. No. The other things are upadhis. Okay, you sit in Dhyanam, you are meditating, you are doing this, you are doing that, learning that. They are all upadhis to train your mind to be away from the attractions and attachments. That's all. To train your Indriyas, train your mana, train your requirements, to change your identity, to change the necessity of the attraction and attachment, to change the characteristics of the desire. That's for that the practice is being done. That's all. Once the practice is done, and ultimate, when you reach to by practicing and ultimate, the one who has not practiced at all, but who has got the absolute knowledge, the one who has done the thousands of years of practice, may not be equal to him. But he has to do it. Some of them have to do it in order to experience that feeling, because otherwise his mind, his Indriya, because the one which is functioning with the external Indriyas, in order to acquire the knowledge, he has to acquire knowledge through the external Indriyas only, because his mind is accepting only that. Whatever I see only I will believe. Whatever I have heard only I will believe. What you have heard may not be true. What I heard is only true, even though I have heard wrong. That only is right. My perception, my knowledge, whatever others say, is it not that you are sticking to your own guns? You are sticking to your own ideas, ideologies. Whatever I know is the biggest knowledge that I have. The power of discrimination has to be utilized. How is it coming? Because this perception of I own, whatever I know is only true, whatever I know is only right, whatever I have heard is only right, what I learned and read only is right. So whenever that establishment comes in your system, that what you hear from external, not what you hear from others, or what you learn from the Shastras and Vedas, what you hear from the satsang, what you get from the satsang, your mind will listen to it, but will hear to that, listen to that, but will not be accepted. It will be kept aside, because you are already holding on to something. This holding on comes, it's called inhibition. That's called selfishness, because you fulfill some desires of yours from that holding on. That's why you are holding on to that. That's why you are not able to change your person. No, I don't think that is right. It's not that I don't think it is not right. This is what we use, the word. That itself is wrong. You are already telling that you are not right. I don't think. Then think. If you are not thinking, think is not. But what we say, I don't think it is right. Then what is right? That I don't know. Then think. I cannot think also. Why I am not able to think? Because I am stuck to what I have already thought. That has been established on that. I am tied to that. This is called the golden shackle. Unable to liberate from that. Each and every instance, each and everything, instead of identifying them. That's why each moment is precious for a yogi. Because each moment the experiencing takes place is different. He is not stuck. He doesn't have any inhibition. He is not stuck with the previous moment. He is always with the experience. This can happen only when the expectation, indriyas, desires, attachments, they're all not there. When they are there, the expectations are there. When the expectations are there, our dukkha karana, the jivan is dukkha. Look at it. Nothing is to your liking. No? Had you given to a free hand to yourself, what you would have done? Maybe one can explain today in the language as a madness. But you're stuck with certain lot of things. You're stuck with it. Why? First of all, your expectations and your desires are totally unethical, which is called adharmic. That's why it never happens. Some of your expectations never happens. Some of your desires never fulfilled. Why? Adharmic. Adharmic in the sense, for the purpose of Jivatma to get liberated through a particular process, it is not there. So what happens is that we get attached only through inhibitions and selfish motive, selfishness. Is why we are unable to progress from that. Dukkham is because of that. Dukkha is not at all real. There is nothing called dukkha. I think I have talked about this when I spoke in Chandogya Upanishad. In detail about this dukkha I have explained. I still remember. Where the characteristics could be identified and then dukkha, sukha, dukkha. When sukha is there, dukkha, dukkha, sukha. That experience is only depending upon your classification of requirement, that's all. It doesn't have any basis. You don't want something, it happens, so you have dukkha. You want something and it happens, you say sukha. Who bothers about your requirements? No basis at all. Absolutely. There's no basis for dukkha. What is the karana? There's no basis. Whatever basis you are trying to justify, you will prove yourself that it is wrong. When you really contemplate on them and discriminate from that, you will identify they are all falsehood. That's all. Absolutely. Dukkha karana. Who has got dukkha? Tapasvi doesn't have dukkha. Jnanam doesn't have it. In Jnanam, there is no word called dukkha. In the true existence, in the Prakriti, there is no dukkha. Is there dukkha in Prakriti? No. Then it would have collapsed by now. The whole system would have collapsed. The whole existence would have collapsed by now if there is dukkha in Prakriti. There is no sukha in Prakriti. There is no dukkha in Prakriti. Then what is in Prakriti? Ananda. Sadananda Chitta. That's all. Sarvada Anandam is that status of Prakriti. That's the nature. That's the true nature. That's why we say that, what is your true nature? My true nature is that. Sadananda Chitta. Shivoham, Shivoham. This consciousness of Shivoham, this consciousness of the all-pervading Parabrahma, Tattvam Parabrahma Jnanam, once we have that established in our inner self, we are Brahma Sakshatkaris. Knowledge has to come It should flow. Knowledge has to just come. When you start, it's a link. Keeps on coming, keeps on coming. Hold it. He's a Brahma Sakshatkari. It's not learned from the books, it's not learned from experience. It's not that it is just there, that's all. So he keeps on telling you, this is what it is. Whatever he sees, he tells you. Moment to moment it changes. He tells you, this is Brahman, this is Jnanam, this is Brahman Jnanam. Vakyartham, through the Vachya, through the expression of that objective experience, not through the objective experiences, from the real true experiences of the knowledge, he experiences it, so he could convert them into the Vakyartha, and it tells you that more or less, because there are no words, Yato vacho nivartanti prapya manasasaha. There are no words which can be expressed, which can explain Brahman in a true sense. So when the Indriya nigraha, Indriya jaya, when it is taken from the externalities, from the external sources, the inner knowledge we call out and in is only, they're all relative terms, it doesn't have any meaning. There is nothing called out, there is nothing called in. They are only meant for an absolutely small understanding of this mind, to know that external in the sense or internal in the sense, the experiencing through objective experiences, experiencing through the Indriyas is called external experiences. Experiencing through knowledge, when the tapasvi keeps his eyes closed and everything, all the Indriyas are withdrawn, he doesn't feel any sensation, he doesn't have any senses functioning. This is why the tapasvi who is sitting in Himalayas doesn't feel cold. The one who is sitting in the fire, he doesn't feel hot. How that feeling is not. What is that other things? It's feeling. Feeling cold. It's not cold. It's not cold. It's feeling cold. Feeling hot. Who is feeling cold? Who sits on the Himalayas? He should feel cold. When he feels cold, it is cold. But for the Himalaya, it is not cold. For the rocks underneath, it is not cold. For the trees there, it is not cold. For the animals there, it is not cold. For any other things which is surviving there, it is not cold. For a tapasvi, for a dhyani, for a jnani, it is not cold. But for somebody, it is cold. Feeling cold. So it's not the cold that matters, it's the feeling that matters. Sensory system, you understood, man? The sensory system, and this is called external application of the sensory system. That feeling. Everything is feeling only. Feeling cold, feeling hot, feeling happy, feeling sad. It's only feeling. It's not sad, it's not happy. You can, nothing wrong. One can feel happy, one can definitely. One can feel sad, no problem. But what I am saying is that they are all experiences through the inhibitions. They are external experiences. This is called experience through external indriyas. The internal indriya, is there a sadness? Is there cold? Is there warmth? Is there happiness? Is there pleasure? Then what is there? They are all meant for sharira and mana. That's why these are all not there. Many people think that if none of these things are there, then what? That is what one has to understand. That's called a state of liberated. In a state of liberated a liberated state, none of these experiences are there. There is only Anandam. There is only one. If you call it as a feeling, you can call it as a feeling. Ananda is not a feeling. Ananda is a status. It is not a feeling. Like drunkenness. Drunk. Is it a feeling of drunkenness? He doesn't feel because he's drunk. How can he feel? He's in the status of that. Because his senses are not working. Certain faculties of brain is not working. So when it is not working, he is in the state of that ananda, drunk. He is lying on the road. He is lying somewhere else. He is don't know. He has fallen down. Doesn't know. Not aware of anything because disconnection from the sharira, inhibition and selfish motive is not there at all. Drunkenness. Similarities, that's all. Don't have to drink. No? In that, there's no feeling. Is there any feeling there? Why you're not having any feeling? In your deep sleep, you don't have any dukkha, you don't have any sukha, you don't have any pleasure, you don't have any scarcity, you don't have anything like that. The status is always compared with deep sleep state, they called it. It's not one has to sleep, no. A state, the experience in the deep sleep state is more or less correlated with the status of the antaratma at that point of time, whereas in deep sleep state of a sharira and mana, many things are not happening, only that isolation is happening. But in the status of the mind, when it goes into the deep sleep state, and many things are happening, and isolation also takes place. In the state of isolation, many things are happening. Those things which are not connected with your sharira and mana is what that is happening, that which are absolutely true, and it is from the existence, from the prakriti and the purusha. That's called the true nature of the self. So in order to identify the true nature of the self, the indriya, functions of the indriyas are, indriya jaya is necessary. Through he says, tato manojavitvam. When identified as totally different, when the indriyas are withdrawn, no more, withdrawn means what? Not like physically withdrawn like tortoise is doing, but the activity of the indriyas are converted into true jnanam. When they are converted into the jnanam, their external experiences have been stopped, and they provide only assistance to provide the support, the knowledge that is prevalent in the existence, which is there in all over. And the indriyas will support for the control of the prakriti, control of the panchabhutas, panchendriyas. Is why he said that pradhana jayascha. Pradhana jayam is that not the not the indriya nigraha that is to be done is not important. Indriya nigraha is done in order to identify the knowledge within is important. Pradhana jaya. That's why he said. That is why this is done. So that the knowledge appears in you. The knowledge is projected in you. When the other inflow of fictitious knowledges from the external sources through indriyas stops flowing into the mind, the true knowledge reveals inside. That's why the self-realization or revelation of the knowledge. Knowledge is not acquired, knowledge is not created, knowledge is not learned, it is not out of practice, not out of any other earning or anything else. By stopping the inflow of any other knowledge into the system, the true knowledge is revealed, is what is called the true self of me. That's the true self of me, the true identification of me, the truth of me, the self. That truth, through that truth, then we have to travel towards further. That's will be coming there. That's only one stage. First is that identify the truth. Because with the sharira, you have heard about I have told you about the story of the Shambhu Sarga. You remember? Another was we wanted to be in Trishangusoka with the Sharira. So that is not possible. Sharira is not accepted, they said no. So in Puranas and so they say that. They say that the Sharira is not accepted there. Mana is not accepted there. Sharira is not accepted there. Only Atma is accepted there. Who is accepting? Who is accepting whom? My inner self is accepting or not accepting. When the death takes place, Yama Dharman, who is a Dharma Raja, when Dharmam has to be established in the self, or unwanted elements that is obstructing the Dharmam to be executed in true sense, to relate with the Prakriti and Purusha has to happen, he rejects the Sharira. Who? The self, the Yama, Dharma, that means the Dharma Raja. Who is the Dharma? Dharma, that inner consciousness of me, rejects that which is not connected with the consciousness. That's how the Sharira and Mana is rejected by the consciousness. That's why it is not acceptable in the Yamaloka, they said, or in the Swargaloka or Naragaloka, whatever it is. We call it as that. It's not acceptable in the sense the consciousness doesn't accept any fictitious thing. What happens? What is death? Death is that I reject that which is not necessary for me. I reject that what is not the truth of me. I reject that what has been attached to me for a particular purpose for some time. I finish the use of it. I reject it. I dispose it of. Who is disposing? I, my consciousness, the Antaratma, is rejecting. Your assistance is no more necessary, is what it says. It's called the death. That's all. Mrityu, Marana, Mrityu, dying. Mritaha. In which there is no mamata existing is mrita. In which there is no mamata existing is mrita. Is why the name mrita has come. There is no mamata. Can he desire? Can he attach? Can he attract? Can he enjoy? Can he ride a bike? That's called mrita. Where there is no mamata at all. In all other shariras, which is prevalent and controlled by the mind, and the sharira is there, in all that there is mamata. And they would like to have amrutatvam. What is amrutatvam? Amrutatvam is that they don't want the my desire to die, my attractions to die, my attachment to die. I don't want that. What is death? That is nothing but elimination of that, releasing is that. I don't want that. It's called mritatvam. Mamatvam is mritatvam. Mamatvam is mritatvam. Mrita. That mama. So long it is there, I and mine, that mritam is not there. The moment it is not there, mrita has come. The one which doesn't require mrita is called consciousness. The one who gets the mritam, the one who wants the mrita is sharira and mana. Is why the death is only for sharira and mana, not for the consciousness, not for the atma. Atma doesn't have the mamata there. Mine and I is not there. Is why there is no death. In whatever there is my and I and mine, mamatvam, that has to die. In anything there is attachment and attraction, it has to die. First of all, attachments have to die, attractions have to die, and that which attracts and attacks also has to die. Everything has to die. There's nothing which is permanent there, because they are all projected from a temporary, illusionary hallucination and absolute inhibitions of the mind, or it's only that hallucinations of the mind. Expectations are hallucinations. This might happen, that will happen, that will happen. That leads you towards the death. Death is that. That's why it's known as Mrita. Mrityu. So Mrityu. That's why this world, this Bhumi is known as Mrityu Loka. The one which is not the Mrityu Loka, we call it as Swarga Loka, Brahma Loka. The one who has acquired the knowledge, he says, I am in Brahma Loka. Brahman means Brahmatva, Brahman. I am in Brahma Loka. The one who has acquired lot of good karmas and has to be reborn again, his status of consciousness says, I am in Swarga Loka. After fulfilling the enjoyment of the Swarga, he has to be born again to Mrityu Loka. The one who is a sinner, he goes into Naraka, what we call it as Naraka. He again has to be reborn in order to release himself from those Papa Karmas and execute Karma Loka. He has to come to Mrityu Loka. That's why all the karmas can be executed only in Mrityu Loka. Karmas cannot be executed anywhere. Why? Because karma itself have to be pronounced from here, stopped from here, thrown out from here. So it is only possible in the Mrityu Loka, nowhere else. You cannot throw it anywhere else. Here only that the rubbish can be dumped. That's why it is known as Mrityu Loka, where Mritam takes place, where through experiences Mamatvam takes place, and Mamatvam also gets released from here, ends from here. Through the experiences, through learning, through many processes, this Mamatva is removed. The day the Mamatva is removed, then Mrita takes place. Even when Mamatva is not released, even then at a point of time, when it is not able to acquire any more experiences in order to release himself into diving into the consciousness, then also the Mritam takes place, Mrityu takes place in order to reborn again. So it is a continuous process. That Mrityu is a continuous process there. Whereas one who liberates himself from this, that's called Jnana Marana. Jnanam is also Mrityu, Mrityu is also Mrityu. When physical classification came, it has been identified as Jnana and Marana. That's all. Both are Mrityu only. Mamatva, one is creating, has created Mamatva, one is releasing Mamatva. Mamatva is the basis of both. Mamatva is basis of both Jnana as well as Marana. Nothing other than that. They all happen. That's why Indriya Jaya is necessary. So in the process, Tato Manojavittam Vikarana Bhava Pradhana Jayasya. The Pradhana Jaya is that you should have the Brahma Sakshatkaram. Pradhana Jaya is that you should have the Brahma Jnanam. That which cannot be discriminated, it's indiscriminate. That which cannot be identified, that which cannot be taken away, that which cannot be relieved, which cannot be released, which cannot be identified, which cannot be thrown out, which doesn't have desire, which doesn't have attachment, which doesn't have differences. Which doesn't have differences, where it doesn't have Mamatvam and Paratatvam. that status of consciousness, the true consciousness, is the true self. So the Indriya Jaya is necessary for identification of the true self, and the true self only can start the journey towards the true spirituality, towards the Brahman. That's why the true identification of the true self is absolutely necessary. This is the stage from where the journey begins. The flying begins. Till then, you are shackled by the golden chains of many. Mamattu. You have to release those golden chains, gold shackles that had been binding you for so long, so that once you identify the true nature of you, true swabhava of you, true self, swabhava. When I identify my swabhava, I detach from all the links, all the shackles, all the chains, all the bindings. When all the bindings are released, mamatva is no more there. Mamatva is there only when the shackles are there, otherwise it's not there. Then I realize the true nature of the self, true nature of me, where my punya, papa, everything is dissolved, dissoluted, isolated, detached, discriminated, and promoted myself towards the Prakriti and Purusha. This is for the Pradhana Jayascha. In detail, that Indriya, continuation of that Indriya nigraha. The 50th shloka we will take the next class. Om Shanti Shambho.